Ashley Floor, and you know what I'm talking about here on my channel right now.
Hollywood has officially turned its back on Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, and the reason this time is more shocking than anyone expected. What should have been a celebratory moment, landing on Time magazine's 100 most influential list, has instead detonated into one of the messiest credibility scandals the industry has seen in years. On April 16th, questions began circulating online about how this so-called power couple even made the list in the first place. And now, insiders claim the truth is finally coming out. According to multiple industry sources, Blake and Ryan didn't earn their spot at all. Allegedly, they bought it. What's being described as one of Hollywood's most calculated and dirty PR maneuvers is now under intense scrutiny, leaving fans and insiders stunned at just how far celebrities are willing to go to maintain relevance and control the narrative. What makes this scandal explode even harder is the timing. Blake Lively's inclusion on Time's 2025 list was publicly tied to a donation she made to the NAACP back in 2019. Yes, 4 years ago. Critics immediately called it out, questioning how an old philanthropic gesture suddenly translated into present-day influence. Philanthropy matters, no doubt, but Hollywood insiders argue that influence is supposed to reflect current impact, not past checks written years earlier. The bigger question isn't what Blake donated, it's what connections were activated behind the scenes to turn that donation into a headline-grabbing accolade right when the couple needed it most. Industry chatter suggests this wasn't organic recognition. Sources allege that over $1 million was funneled through PR firms, marketing agencies, and strategic partners to shape editorial decisions and lock in Blake and Ryan's placement on the list. In other words, what appeared to be an honor may have been a carefully orchestrated PR stunt designed to drown out mounting criticism elsewhere. In Hollywood, influence isn't just about talent or integrity, it's about access, leverage, and knowing exactly which doors to push and which wallets to open. Enter Time magazine's owner, Salesforce billionaire Mark Benioff. A name that carries enormous weight in both media and tech circles. Benioff is known for hosting elite gatherings where billionaires, celebrities, agents, and executives mingle freely, trading influence like currency. Photos of him alongside power brokers such as Ari Emanuel paint a clear picture of how tightly woven these networks really are. Insiders claim that being backed, or even adjacent, to figures like Benioff can quietly tip the scales in your favor. And that's where the controversy deepens. Ryan Reynolds' marketing company, Maximum Effort, has reportedly partnered with Salesforce on multiple campaigns in recent years. That connection alone has raised serious eyebrows. Critics argue that Time magazine's lists have increasingly favored sponsors, business partners, and close allies rather than purely merit-based selections. Ryan's company appearing on Time's most influential companies list alongside Blake's personal recognition has only fueled speculation that this wasn't coincidence, it was coordination. The financial incentive behind such recognition is massive. Forbes estimates that landing on Time's 100 list can increase endorsement value by up to 30%. For Blake and Ryan, that translates into millions in brand deals, licensing agreements, and media opportunities. But with that upside comes risk. Because once audiences begin to believe that influence is bought rather than earned, trust collapses fast, and collapse it did. Social media erupted. Hashtags demanding transparency began trending. Fans who once praised Blake and Ryan's relatability now accuse them of manipulation. According to recent surveys, nearly 70% of readers now question the authenticity of Time magazine's rankings altogether, viewing them as pay-to-play schemes rather than genuine acknowledgements of influence. That's not just a problem for Blake and Ryan, it's a credibility crisis for the media itself. But this scandal doesn't exist in isolation. The Time magazine moment conveniently arrived as legal and PR storms surrounding Justin Baldoni were intensifying. Critics argue the timing was deliberate, an attempt to redirect attention, reshape headlines, and reframe Blake and Ryan as untouchable industry leaders rather than embattled figures. Ryan's recognition for Maximum Effort reinforced that narrative, shifting coverage away from controversy and toward business brilliance. For a while, it worked. But not for long now. The cracks are showing. Insiders are speaking out. Journalists are pulling threads. And behind the scenes, Hollywood is quietly distancing itself. Crew members who've worked with Blake describe her as demanding and unapologetic, with some bluntly labeling her behavior as mean girl energy. Ryan's carefully maintained nice guy persona is also being re-evaluated, with insiders saying his relentless PR spin is wearing thin. What once felt charming now feels calculated, and more telling is who isn't coming to their defense. In an industry where silence speaks volumes, the lack of vocal support from peers has been deafening. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni, who has largely stayed quiet, has reportedly gained respect for his composure. Directors and actors are said to be backing him privately, drawn to what they describe as integrity over image. Hollywood loves an underdog, and right now, Baldoni fits that role far better than Blake or Ryan. High-profile figures are also creating distance. Collaborations are quietly being shelved. Endorsement talks have stalled. Unfollows haven't gone unnoticed. Even brands tied closely to Ryan's charm-based marketing model are reportedly nervous. In today's market, companies don't just want famous faces, they want controversy-free credibility. And Blake's fashion partnerships and luxury affiliations aren't immune either. Prestige brands thrive on exclusivity, not scandal. What's unfolding now is bigger than one couple. It's exposing how Hollywood actually works, how influence is engineered, narratives are bought, and reputations are protected until they suddenly aren't. The audience has changed. Viewers are more skeptical, more informed, and far less willing to accept glossy PR stories without receipts. Independent creators on YouTube and TikTok are pulling back the curtain, and once that happens, there's no putting it back. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds may still recover. Hollywood is built on reinvention, but this moment marks a reckoning. Their golden image is tarnished. Trust has fractured. And every move they make from here on out will be scrutinized harder than ever. Because in the age of unfiltered media, charm alone isn't enough. Authenticity is the new currency, and right now, Hollywood isn't convinced they're paying in it. What started as whispers has now turned into something far more dangerous for Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, a credibility collapse. Because once Hollywood insiders stop defending you, the machine doesn't just slow down, it reverses. And that's exactly what's happening here. The Time magazine controversy didn't just spark outrage online, it triggered a quiet but ruthless industry pullback that rarely makes headlines until it's already too late. Behind closed doors, producers, agents, and brand executives are asking the same question: if the influence was manufactured, what else was? And that question is poison in an industry built on perception. Multiple insiders now claim that Blake and Ryan's PR playbook didn't just rely on spin, it relied on pressure, leverage, and strategic silencing. The kind of tactics that work until they don't. Sources describe a pattern that's becoming impossible to ignore. Strategic awards. Carefully timed recognitions. Media narratives that conveniently redirect attention whenever controversy peaks. According to former PR consultants, this isn't accidental, it's orchestration. A high-budget reputation firewall designed to overwhelm criticism before it can take hold. But this time, the firewall failed, and when it failed, people started talking. Crew members, junior staffers, industry professionals with nothing left to lose. Anonymous testimonies paint a picture far darker than the polished red carpet image. Blake Lively, once marketed as approachable and warm, is now being described as controlling, dismissive, and unwilling to take accountability. Ryan Reynolds, long celebrated as Hollywood's lovable jokester, is increasingly seen as a master manipulator of narrative, someone who hides calculated moves behind humor and self-deprecation. The most telling detail: not a single major industry voice has come forward to publicly defend them. In Hollywood, silence is rarely neutral. It's strategic. At the same time, the optics surrounding Justin Baldoni have shifted dramatically. While Blake and Ryan doubled down on visibility, Baldoni did the opposite. He went quiet. No grand statements. No media blitz. No performative interviews. And that restraint is earning him something far more valuable than headlines: respect. Directors, writers, and actors reportedly admire his refusal to weaponize the press. In an industry drowning in spin, restraint reads as integrity, and Hollywood loves integrity, especially when it contrasts so sharply with excess. Now let's talk about the brand fallout, because this is where things get expensive. Ryan Reynolds' empire, aviation gin, maximum effort, tech endorsements is built entirely on trust and likability. These brands don't just sell products, they sell him. But insiders say brand partners are growing uneasy. Contracts are being reviewed. Future campaigns are being paused. Not cancelled, yet, but reconsidered, which is often worse. Luxury brands tied to Blake Lively are facing similar pressure. High-end fashion houses don't tolerate controversy well. They trade in aspiration, not accusation. Association matters, and once a name becomes risk-adjacent, doors quietly close. Invitations stop coming. Campaigns get delayed. Meetings don't happen, and here's the part that should worry them the most: the younger generation isn't buying it. Up-and-coming actors and creators are openly criticizing old-school PR manipulation. To them, manufactured authenticity is worse than being openly flawed. They value transparency, not polish. And Ryan Reynolds' hyper-engineered brand now feels outdated, a relic of a time when charm could override accountability. This isn't just a scandal. It's a power shift. Independent media, commentary channels, and social platforms are doing what legacy outlets won't: connecting dots, exposing patterns, questioning motives. The audience no longer waits for magazines to tell them who's influential. They decide for themselves. And once public trust turns, no amount of money can buy it back quickly. That's why this moment feels different. Hollywood has seen scandals before. But this one cuts deeper because it attacks the foundation, credibility. If Time magazine can be influenced, if influence can be purchased, if narratives can be engineered, then the entire system looks compromised. And when institutions lose trust, the people propped up by those institutions fall with them. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds aren't cancelled in the dramatic #sense. This is worse. They're being quietly sidelined, strategically distanced, politely avoided. And in Hollywood, that's the beginning of the end of unchecked power. Can they recover? Possibly. Hollywood loves a redemption arc. But redemption requires humility, accountability, and silence, not stunts, not spin, not forced relatability. Every move from here on will be dissected, doubted, and double-checked because the illusion has cracked, and once people see the machinery behind the curtain, they never look at the magic the same way again.